Today we're doing a handbag, an Ankara made handbag, and the materials we're using is the macro. We're using a cheap board, it's very light and flexible, and we're using fabric, we're using the lining, and I'm using this handles for my bag, and I'm going to be attaching some zip, and of course we're using the scissors, the ruler, your pencil, and my mallet, my hammer, my choker for knitting. Yes, and I'll also be using my bag stand for the base. So first of all, what I'm going to do is to measure out my materials, which I have already done. If you would like to see how to measure out your materials, you should check a previous video. This I'm going to show you how to cut it, but I've already cut out my materials, so what is left is to just wrap and put them together. In this method you don't have to sew anything unless you want to, but really you don't have to sew anything. You're going to be gluing everything. Yes, before I forget, I'm also using my top bond gum to glue everything. So I've already cut them out. I'm just going to wrap this. So I wrap this with my fabric. So I wrap this with my fabric. I wrap this with my lining. And I already cut out sides for it. This for the two sides, and I cut out fabric and lining for each of them, for each of the sides. So I'm going to be wrapping each of them. This, the fabric and the lining with this, fabric and the lining with this. So I'm going to be wrapping the macro first. Now to wrap the macro, as you can see I've bent it the way I want it to go. You see the slight bent, bent here. So I'm going to put gum all over this here, and I'm going to place on my fabric. When cutting a fabric for this, you cut 1 inch extra. That's 2 inch extras for each of for both the width and the length. So if your length is 20, you're cutting 22 for your fabric, and if your width is 10, then you're cutting 12 for your fabric. So I'll wrap this, and I'll put glue, and then you see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've finished wrapping. This is the 1 inch extras, so you have 1 inch extra on all sides to wrap round. That's the essence of the 1 inch. That's the essence of the 2 inches that you're adding to your measurement. Remember I said if you have if your length is 20, then you're going to cut the length for your fabric. If your length for this is 20, then you're going to cut the length for the fabric 22. If the width is 10, then you're going to cut the width to 12 for your fabric, so that you have 1 inch extras on all sides to be able to wrap around. That's the essence of the 1 inch. Okay, so I've done this. I'm going to wrap my lining, and I'll be right back. I'm just going to do the same thing with the chipboard lining and chipboard together. So I'll be right back.